I would like to to share my presentation in about 3 parts. First, I would like to talk about our indicators, how they are defined, and what their use is for us. And then I would like to talk about the indicator management, about the IT systems we are using for that. And then I would also like to share some thoughts with you all around these open issues about Sense 2. First, some words about the content of our indicators, or the definition. We have several criteria, like, for example, of course, policy relevance. An indicator has to be representative. It has to stand for a certain complex of questions. It has to be understandable. It has to be unique and clear, so that the public gets on first sight what it is about. There should be a target available. This is in practice not always so easy to have, because there are also not always we have a limit or a fixed value to refer to. Data availability and regular monitoring is also crucial. Then we would like spatial and temporal coverage, like it should cover all of Switzerland, and it should also be available at least once a year. Then, of course, methodological soundness is important, and we also would like to be able to compare our indicators internationally. Well, I guess that EEA certainly, and also all the other countries, they might share most of these criteria. When we look at an indicator, as you have an example here, it is basically only one simple data set. You should be able to look at the graph and get a first impression on it and understand it easily. Usually it's one value per year, and there should be several years covered that we can also make an assessment. There is also a description, and the methods are also described in the indicator. And we also have traffic lights to indicate how the state is or how the trend is developing. Well, what's the role of the indicators? Indicators are at the Federal Office for Environment used for mainly 2 purposes. One purpose is more internally. It's about steering the environmental observation systems. We call that DPS-IR flowers, and it helps us to set the agenda. It helps us to clarify whether we covered the whole DPS-IR system, and we can also discuss with our board of directors where there should be set some emphasis on where we have gaps, and where we would continue. And so for every topic, there is such a DPS-IR framework established with a set of indicators. It is also helping us to distribute financial means. Well, concretely, all our activities, monitoring systems and so on, are related to an indicator outcome. So you will not get money without having produced an indicator in the end. At least it should be like that. Another important use of the indicators is, of course, the environmental reporting. We are producing different products for the public and also for policymakers. Oops. Now I can get, okay. First, I would like to show you our online products we have. We have the indicator portal itself, where all the indicators are, as I mentioned before, presented with a graph, with description, methods, and these traffic lights. Then we have environmental status reports. So this is the core of the flower, like the topic water, and then we are bringing into a relation the different indicators along this DPS-IR story. All this information is accessible online in 4 languages. We also have different print products. Our flagship is the Environment Switzerland report, which is published every 2 years. This is also an indicator-based report. And there are different thematic reports which also make use of indicators to more or less all of them to a different degree though. How do we manage our indicator system? We are storing the indicators in a MySQL database with a web front end. There you have access to different search functions, titles, numbers of indicators, topic lists, DPSIR, and so forth. When you can choose an indicator and open an indicator file, and there you can add indicator metadata, such as title, last update, next update, languages, and so on. And also in the same file directly you can add the assessment of the indicator and set the traffic lights. In relation to that metadata assessment file, there is also the data file stored in the same database and accessible via the same path. We enter the data directly in there. And everything is available in 4 languages, so we also store the translations in this system. For publication, we are using an open source BI tool called Pentaho. There we are able to configure how the indicator should look, like we can choose whether it should be a line graph, a bar graph, and so on. We can set different parameters. Then there's one last little step between the Pentaho tool and the publication. We have to optimize the HTML output of Pentaho for screen readers, because it is in our corporate design included that everything must be also accessible for screen readers. This is quite a difficult thing, actually, because most of the open source or also commercial tools, they are delivering difficult HTML that must be revised for this purpose. But once this indicator is published, all the updates you do at the indicator database are directly published into the indicator portal very easily by just using one click. Well, some words about the indicator management workflow. Even though everything seems to be nice and online, I have to say that there's much offline work needed to get a good indicator. We even included the possibility to produce Word files to track changes, because our experts, they love to work with this tracking function in Word. A bit strange, yes. It's very important to have close contacts to experts. We found out that it is very difficult for them to simplify their topic to that degree that you have a very easy, accessible, and readable, understandable indicator. This involves a lot of discussion, and you have to eliminate thousands of buts. In this case, it is different, and so on. And the same is, of course, applicable to these traffic lights. It's very hard for them to say, to make a clear statement about the trend, or even to judge the state. Well, to sum this up, it's very time-consuming to be up to date. We really try to update all our indicators at least once a year, and sometimes we are doing all these discussions again. So this is really time-consuming. Well, last but not least, I would like to share some thoughts with you about this matching of indicators. This question was raised at the last NRC SOER workshop earlier this year on Sense2 content, and Daria already said some words about that. Well, this question about matching is really a very important one, and I would like to, since it's so hot outside, I would present you a mental refreshment, or mental ice cream, and I would like to talk about snow for a while. Well, I would like to tell you a small story I stumbled over when I was reading to my kids at night. Look, these hibernating friends, they finally would like to see snow. None of them never ever has seen snow before in their life. So they went to ask the goat how snow looks. And the goat delivered the metadata or the assessment of snow. Well, snow is white, cold, wet, soft. It can be hard though. And it is sparkling. Well, our friends, they didn't really know how to look and where to look about snow. And they were even afraid that they might have missed the snowflake, the first snowflake this year. So they went into the forest and they went to search for snow and see what the hedgehog found. He found the first snowflake. It is cold, white, wet, a bit hard, and a bit soft. He's perfectly right, huh? Well, that would be snow probably according to Switzerland. And look here, this could be snow according to the squirrel or to any of you. Beautiful. I'm sure that EEA definitely knows how snow looks like. He's very proud, this bear. Well, what does this story mean in the context of Sense 2? The main question for me is, even if it's a technical discussion we are leading here now, is still the content. What do we want to compare and why do we want to compare? I would like to raise this question whether the Swiss and the EEA indicators are worth a comparison in SOER Part C, and what would this mean if we compare it? What is the outcome? How could we interpret this? So this is a question I think we should also spend some thoughts on still. Also the importance for assessment. How can we address these difficulties also from a technical point of view? And how should they be taken up in the assessments in the SOER 2015? It could be also quite interesting to learn something about out of these differences. And also, what impacts does this have for technical solutions? Of course, for me, it's important that this RDF feed will allow to have a one-to-many relations, because all our Swiss indicators, they are limited to one data set, and usually EEA makes an assessment for several of our data sets in one. So I would like to really much to have this possibility. And also the many-to-many relations, because some of our data sets are used in several indicators and vice versa. And then, since we are working with that database and we are so much online, I would really like to that it would be possible to have a feed generation out of a database. And I would be interested in any tips or so on how this could be done. And then that's a minor point maybe, but we also have national directives for presentation, as I mentioned before, this thing about screen readers and barrier-free presentation. And yes, I think these things should be solved as well. And I would very much like to reuse our existing content, especially even if we translated everything into English at least, and to 3 other languages as well. So that would be great if we could reuse that. Well, so much for that, and last picture to refresh your minds. And I believe snow looks really beautiful in RDF. Thank you very much.
Karin, I love your pragmatic approach, but with Swiss precision, I would say. Yeah, absolutely. When I moved to Denmark, I had a similar experience with EEA. So when I moved there and I was asking, do we have regularly snow here? The first reaction I got is, which snow? Because they have 20 different definitions of snow. So I think I'm not sure if you will get the answer from EEA. So really good story. We still have some time for a few questions. Yes, please. There. It's my left.
Yes, Marc Léobet from France. It's a remark we have in France about the size and sounds and so on. It's very difficult for us to send the people to your workshop or to your presentations, because we need to sometimes in the same day to have environmentalists. In the same day we need IT specialists. In the same day we need more political point of view. And France is very embarrassed by these difficulties because we are not so many. And for today, for example, we were wondering about who have to come to this session. So please try to explain the profile of people who have to come to in your project, in your groups and so on, because it's difficult for us sometimes. Nobody come from France, and it's a pity.
Indeed, I think it's a very fair comment. I think that not only France but also other countries are often struggling with the same issue. I don't know from the panelists, is there somebody wants to give a reaction to that, on how indeed to deal with a topic where you might need an IT expert together with a thematic expert, together with even with more somebody from the policy side?
Yes, I mean, our network, the IONET, is built up so that we have these national contact points. Some of them are sitting here, at least for the neighborhood country. And then we have these reference center, which means these are thematic experts for a limited amount of areas. We maybe have these days, how many? 20 areas? 25 areas. One of them is environmental information system, that term you heard today. The other one is state of the environment. The discussion around indicators and also the Sense2 project is a discussion which ideally needs a combination of these two described profiles. The profiles have been described. Now we have some practical problem in this. We cannot bring all the people here. What we are doing for that is we're having meetings also with the reference center on state of the environment. So we discuss. You could see that from both presentations that the topic has content aspects and infrastructure aspects. We try we discuss the content elements in the state of the environment group and the infrastructure aspects in the other group. Yet we want to make a link. So that is why we also here in the infrastructure group, in the information system group, put a background of what is the context of this discussion. Why are we looking at a certain infrastructure and not as a different? So we hope to be able to bridge this a little bit. I don't think there is an ideal solution on that. But we have also project team meetings, and depending on the resources we have, we can invite both of those contact points from at least selected countries. Let's put it like this.
Any other questions? I think especially also on the last presentation shows the practicalities we have to face. What I would conclude from this, first of all, I will take forward as an action, coming back to the last comment, that we need to be very explicit for further workshops what kind of expertise is required, that we make as well clear the topic that will be discussed. You can see from this event, Inspire and Size, that it is very broad. But I think now that we get more and more a common understanding at national level as well as at the European level, so let's try as well now to get more and more focused on specific issues that we need to tackle. In that context, so this afternoon we will move more into the technical discussions. I think specifically this session will continue on linked data, the open data initiatives and so on, so that will be more, I think, IT oriented. What also came clear from this morning's discussion is the interface between European and national information systems. It is happening now, still with a lot of question marks. There is still a lot of clarities or you say confusion or things that we need to clarify further. But at least I think an exercise like Sense, taking a specific topic on an indicator, taking specific indicators will help us to get there. If there are any other comments from the final comments from the panel, if not, then I would like first of all to thank again the speakers and you as well for, I think, which was a very good start of this range of workshops for today and tomorrow. So thanks a lot.